There is something dark about the store. It's not because it's black. There's just something, a weird vibe there. A lot of comics, even though we're having an upswing, there's this girl who she has an, I'm not gonna name her name because I don't want to get in trouble, but she has a Netflix special, but she doesn't play the store. And I was at the Laugh Factory and I saw her perform, and she got off stage. I was right after her, and I never met her before. She's very funny, and I said, "You're very funny," and she goes like this. She goes, and she just walks away from me, right? Which is rude, right? So in my head, I'm thinking maybe it's in my head, and then check it out. The next week, I'm at the Improv, and she's sitting there because she's about to go up. I sit next to her. She walks up and walks away. So I did some investigating, and I go, this girl, you know, she avoids me. I've never met her before. I never talked shit behind her back. And a bunch of comics were saying, oh yeah, anyone that works at the Comedy Store, she won't even talk to. I go, why? Because she believes that we're all like kind of like demons, and that we're all like a part of this weird comedy cult, that we're dark, we have dark energy. There is something dark about the store. It's not because it's black. There's just something, a weird vibe there. A lot of comics, even though we're having an upswing, there's this girl who she has an, I'm not gonna name her name because I don't want to get in trouble, but she has a Netflix special, but she doesn't play the store. And I was at the Laugh Factory and I saw her perform, and she got off stage. I was right after her, and I never met her before. She's very funny. And I said, you're very funny. And she goes like this. She goes, and she just walks away from me, right? Which is rude, right? So in my head, I'm thinking maybe it's in my head. And then check it out. The next week, I'm at the Improv, and she's sitting there because she's about to go up. I sit next to her. She walks up and walks away. So I did some investigating, and I go, this girl, you know, she avoids me. I've never met her before. I never talked shit behind her back. And a bunch of comics were saying, oh yeah, anyone that works at the Comedy Store, she won't even talk to. I go, why? Because she believes that we're all like kind of like demons, and that we're all like a part of this weird comedy cult, that we're dark, we have dark energy.
Okay, so for the past few years, a lot of people have been speculating on who that female comedian is that Bobby Lee is talking about. And ever since I myself have been making these docs on the Comedy Store, so have I. So in this installation of the series I've created, we will be exploring a lot of the low vibrational and demonic energy that has been surrounding the Comedy Store as we work our way into figuring out who this female comedian is that seems to think that everybody involved in the Comedy Store seems to be involved in a cult or something of the sort. Now, a few names have come up upon all the speculation. We got Maria Bamford, Jenny Slate, Amy Schumer, which I don't understand that one because as demonic as that chick is, I'm not sure how her name got into this. Eliza Schlesinger, Ali Wong, Margaret Cho, and more. So without any further ado, let's start rolling the footage. And again, none of this is conspiracy theory. This isn't me pushing my ideologies on the people. This isn't none of that. This is straight from the horse's mouth. We're about to show you actual clips and footage of these celebrities confirming all of this stuff. And remember, I ain't woke, I'm up. So if any of this goes against your belief systems or anything, this is all entertainment. You have the right to turn the channel. So let's get into this.
Why work the club that's not paying? So then it got ugly. I mean, I didn't go back for 30 years.
Oh, you didn't? You were out of the Comedy Store for 30
Well, I left because the Comedy Store just got crazy with the cocaine and the drugs.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I was in the back one day and Sam came in, Kinison, and he had a gun and people doing coke on the table. And I said, you know, I'm a comedian. I don't want to get, when this place gets busted, I don't want to get dragged downtown.
And you'd already been in that kind of world, right? Weren't you working like the
mob club.
mob?
But I just didn't want to be rounded up. I mean, to me, it ruined the Comedy Store. It became a place for, you know, just sleazy women and creepy guys. And
did you work both clubs?
Not really. They didn't like me at the Improv. Mitzi kind of embraced me.
I just stopped going to the Comedy Store because I didn't want to be there the day. Sooner or later, when people are openly doing cocaine, cops are going to show up. And I'm not a cocaine guy. I don't drink.
So a common thing you're going to hear throughout this whole documentary is that there's a lot of drug use going on. And you know, anybody that follows my channel and keeps up with the type of stuff I talk about, drugs are really a gateway into a lot of lower vibrational, lower frequency, like dimensions and stuff like that, you know, kind of merge the barriers between this third dimension and the fourth dimension. A lot of different drugs do this, and every drug has its own specific, you know, detail about it. So anytime somebody talks about, oh, I seen a ghost or I seen something, you know, paranormal, a skeptic would like to ask them, well, were you high? Were you on drugs? Were you anything? As if that's to say, okay, you were only seeing that because you were on drugs and what you were seeing wasn't real, when in fact, the drugs are a sure sign that what you were seeing was real. It was just the drug actually connected these two dimensions for you. Because in society, you know, whatever they pump into society, like the GMOs or the stuff that, you know, isn't too much healthy for you, all this does is breaks down your spiritual connection and your connection into the spiritual realms and all that other type of stuff. And drugs are not good for you, but it's almost like a cheat code into these dimensions, which helps you cheat to get there. And the elevator ride up to the top is very fun and very euphoric and, you know, all that stuff, blissful and, you know, nirvana and all that other type of stuff. But the fall down is very hellacious, low vibrational, and demonic.
That we're all like a part of this weird comedy cult. Me and Johnny Sanchez saw at the same time a ghost.
Where did you see your ghost?
What do you mean? It's only
Where-
one.
no,
There's only
I
one
mean,
ghost.
the
There's
belly
only
room.
there's only one ghost there, bro.
The belly room.
And his name is Gus. Do you know that?
Is that his name?
That's his name, bro. Gus, dude. I've seen Gus twice, bro.
Now, where did you see Gus? Tell
The
me.
first time I saw Gus was Johnny Sanchez. You know that little Latino guy?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, he goes, "Hey, bro." I go, "What's up? Let's do a gig in Bakersfield." So back in the day, I had this truck with no window. The windows were blasted open. I had no money. So I parked my truck at the Comedy Store. He takes his car. We drive to Bakersfield. We do a show. On the way back, it's like 3 a.m. now. Right? He drops me off at my car. We're standing in the parking lot, just talking about the night or whatnot. And we both look up at that top window, and we see a face, glowing, no eyes, no features, wearing a top hat, and 2 hands against the window, looking down on us. And we look at the thing. We look at each other again, and we look back up. It's gone. And we believed that to be Gus, my friend.
That was the first time. When was the second time?
I was playing the piano at 4 a.m.
In the main room.
Yeah. Why you laughing, dude?
I haven't really heard anyone say that
In the
before.
main room bathroom?
How many people can say they played the Comedy Store piano at 4 in the morning?
I played it in the back. That bathroom. That piano.
Yeah, that piano back there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you can see right here an orb flies into the screen next to Bobby Lee. Now this could just be a dust particle, out of all the dust flying around in the room, this one just decides to be bright and shows itself more than any other dust because it's the only one I've seen. And to all the skeptics, I don't want to come off too crazy, so that could be anything. That might not be a ghost, but as well, also to all the skeptics, fuck what y'all talking about. That's a ghost. And myself having experience in this spiritual stuff like this, not all orbs are low vibrational, entities. Some of them are like angelic and stuff like that. So I don't know what type of orb this is, but we are about to see another one seconds later.
But back then, it wasn't in back there. It was on the side of the stage.
On the side of the stage.
Right. So it's completely dark.
And as you see here, I wasn't the only one who caught this orb flying around there. A lot of people were actually saying there's an orb flying around there. And quite like that female comedian that Bobby Lee is talking about, maybe these people just got dark spirits attached to them. And we will be getting into who this female comedian is. But for now, let's get back to hearing more of these stories from these celebs and comics.
Are you scared of ghosts at the Comedy Store?
Now, I had an experience here with ghosts. I just had my set and everything, and you could see people closing up to it, and I was like, I've never been here past the closing hours. So I was like, it's going to be nice. I'm going to smoke a joint and sit in the parking lot of this place I fucking love. The last light went out, and all of a sudden I had this, I can't even explain it. It's like a push. Like, yo, you're not supposed to be here.
Ooh.
This is our time. Please leave.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you high, bitch. Like, you been high, and I'm getting ready to light the joint. And that motherfucker was like, yo, get the fuck out. So I started my car and left. Listen, I'm not going to hang around for a motherfucker to come and tap me on the shoulder and I see a face and shit. You don't have to do that with me. Black people, you don't have to do stuff with black people like that. It's the white motherfuckers you got to put a whole brick through the fucking windshield and shit and choke the motherfucker out like...
I think we should go.
I said leave,
He comes up to Crest Hill with like an 8-ball, and we're just sitting there doing coke. And he's like looking at me, he's like, look at me in the eye, Maron. I can't trust a man that doesn't look me in the eye, just doing the cold fucking preacher mind fuck on me.
The scariest was the one day he came home and he said, I'm going to study the devil. I've studied God my whole life, but I want to find out what the devil's about. And then he started studying witchcraft.
As I'm watching this this documentary, I'm getting to episode 3, and they start talking about stuff that was happening at the Comedy Store, and they start to mention satanic rituals. And I forgot exactly. Did I write his name down? I didn't.
That they were doing satanic rituals?
Yes, it's on episode 3. I had the name written down, but I deleted it before I did this by accident. But one of the comedians, I forgot his name. I'll tell it to you later. But the comedians were like, this guy was like getting super dark and depressed and stuff, and then they started doing satanic rituals, and they would have these comedians come in and do these rituals for like fame and fortune and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, why is Satan such a constant theme in all of these like Hollywood films, Hollywood
and comedy at that,
music, anything to do with like power or fame? I feel like it always ends up rooting.
You know
to
what
some
I think
kind
it
of
is?
Satanic practice.
I think it falls back to like the Nebuchadnezzar days of like idolization.
And that, as a friend, is the scariest fucking thing I ever heard in my life.
He explored everything. He was exploring a bunch of different stuff. I don't know how deeply he got into it, or that he just wanted to know what those things said. Sam used to hold seances back here in this little room.
Some agent didn't book him for something, so he put a curse on the agent.
A lot of skeptics love to just point out the fact that, I don't believe in that satanic stuff. That's just bullshit. Well, I hate to tell you, you might not believe in this, but these people who got all this power, fame, and whatever, they fucking believe in it. And you may say, well, they're just idiots. Well, yeah, them idiots got billions of dollars while you sit at home typing from a fucking keyboard. And as you heard right here, we're about to hear Carl LaBove, who is Sam Kinison's best friend, who has passed away as well, R.I.P., talk about how Sam Kinison put a curse on somebody he didn't like, and the dude got into some fucking accident or something. And we just did a video on Azalea Banks, putting some type of curse on DC Young Fly. These are two celebrity comedians. In case you guys don't know, DC Young Fly, a comedian as well. His girlfriend just passed recently, and there is some artist out there named Azalea Banks who have problems with him. And since his girlfriend's passing has come to the news, she has made a post saying that, oh, I put a curse on them, and now look what happened. You know, the girl ended up dying on Azalea Banks' birthday. Like, so I don't know. A lot of this shit is crazy.
Something, so he put a curse on the agent. And the agent got in a car wreck the following week or something like that. And he was all like, see, it works.
On Monday nights, all the freaks would come out of the woodwork. Sam would show up about 11:30. He'd give me a few $100 to go set the house up for a party. And Dave, the Satanist, comes. And Sam doesn't like him. And there's this argument. Sam throws a drink in the guy's face and fucking clocks him. And like there's chaos.
When he tried to be healthy, people were coming up and screaming in his face and saying, "You're the fucking beast, man."
Once Sam Kinison came in, I saw that gun on the table. I go, I'm out of here, man. Is it going to go off accidentally?
His self-esteem was so low, he wanted everything he shouldn't have had.
I asked myself, how the fuck did I not become a drug addict and alcoholic and all that shit? Because I watched all you guys do it. I watched Sam do it. I watched, we go down the line. You guys were a fucking mess. So I have a saying that I came up with from watching you guys, especially Sam: dance with the devil, don't become the devil.
Have you guys ever been to the Comedy Store?
No, but we were trying to.
Yeah, listen, I can set that up. The Comedy Store is without a doubt haunted. If there's a place that's haunted in the world, it's the Comedy Store, because it used to be a mob nightclub and they've murdered people there. 100%. It was Bugsy Siegel's nightclub. It was called Ciro's, and in the 1950s, was it the 50s and the 60s? Is that what it was?
Sorry, in the 40s actually.
In the 40s, yeah. But it's a famous old mob-run nightclub that Mitzi Shore took over in the 1970s. So the place has this feel to it, like it's been run, as an entertainment venue for 70 years or something crazy like that.
Isn't there a bunch of like underground passageways around there too?
There was actually an article about this house on Crest Hill. Here, Whitney Cummings sent it to me, so I'll send it to you, Jamie. But I almost bought this house in the 1990s. In the 1990s, they were selling this house that the Comedy Store owned right above the club.
Is it this one?
Yeah, that's it.
And that's the one that's connected to the Comedy Store?
Yes, there's supposedly a tunnel, because that's right above and to the left of the comedy club.
So this right here is the article that Joe Rogan is talking about right here, living above the store, which is what Whitney Cummings sent him. So let's read it. Stories from comedians who inhabited Crest Hill, the house above the Comedy Store, by Sean L. McCarthy, October 22nd, 2015. In 1976, when Mitzi Shore, the Comedy Store's owner and enigmatic doyen and mother of Pauly, bought the club, Crest Hill, as it came to be known, was rolled into the deal. From the front, the house looks kind of small, almost humble. The two largest bedrooms are on the street level, and it isn't until you descend the staircase and walk toward the back of the house that the 3-story, nearly 5,000 square foot abode begins to reveal itself. The space widens and draws you toward its oddly placed alcoves, its nooks and crannies, toward those sweeping balconies, towards its secrets. Built in the 1920s, the place has a shadowy history dating to the days when the mob and the Rat Pack prowled the strip. At the time when Mitzi Shore bought it, the house, which sits on a cul-de-sac of pretty older homes elbowing each other for space, was vacant, and at first Mitzi did little with it. Then around the time of Lebetkin's suicide, she essentially gave the place over to the comedians who worked at the store. For about a decade, comics inhabited Crest Hill. Inhabit is the best way to put it, really. Some had their own rooms, some of those actually paid some token rent, but many more were just kind of there to hang out, to drink, to do drugs, to talk shit, to crash on a couch or a floor, wherever, or to do satanic rituals. We'll just put that in there. There were 3 bedrooms, maybe 4, depending on what you call a bedroom, but that had little relation to how many people might be sleeping there at any given moment. No one can remember even signing a lease. I read like a bitch. The catalog of names is impressive. Dice, which is Andrew Dice Clay, Sam Kinison, Jim Carrey, Marc Maron, Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, Yakov Smirnoff, and Bill Hicks, aka Alex Jones. Just kidding. All either lived there or hung out there between 1979 and 1989, the year I was born. Some, like Dice and Kinison, were around for more of those years than they weren't. Alan Steffen, a comic who was part of Kinison's Outlaws of Comedy crew and later the showrunner for Roseanne, never lived in Crest Hill, but spent countless hours there in the late 70s and early 80s. Comics were all of a sudden getting respect, so we could get away with murder, Steffen says. He probably means that literally. And we did, literally. Mitzi saw the store as a place for comics to work out and improve, essentially comedy college. Crest Hill, Steffen says, was the frat house. The place is more than an interesting footnote in comedy history. Crest Hill's glory years coincided with a massive stand-up boom across the country. In the mid-70s, you could count the number of comedy clubs nationwide on one hand. By the late 80s, there were hundreds. This group of comics, haunting Crest Hill, working the store, helped to create the stand-up business as we know it. In that house, these comics forged a style and, more important, a bold, anarchic attitude that still pervades comedy today. But this came at a cost. Maron, who showed up around 1987 and lasted 8 months living in a small room Dice had recently vacated, described his time there to me as a big, dark baptism. Evil. Now, before we continue on with what Joe Rogan is talking about, the underground tunnels. Now, if you guys heard a lot of accounts about, like, you know, the pizza shop thing, you know what I'm talking about, the comet thing joint, and then you hear about Voodoo Donuts and a whole bunch of other popular places told by a few celebrities who've actually came out against these cabals or whatever, I don't know what the hell to call them, these cults and stuff like that. Something they all got in common is they all got underground tunnels from the basement which go from one place to the next. You know, like the dude was talking about Voodoo Donuts, that they were able to get to places faster because there was like this, you know, these tunnels underground that they could transport from one place to another very fast. And you know, a lot of this ties into the, you know, child trafficking or whatever. Like, this is all entertainment. You know, don't say none of this is like real or nothing. All of this is entertainment. Nothing in this video is a fact. This is just horror stories, spooky stories, however you want to say it. But yes, in this horror movie that I'm telling right here, the underground tunnels is how they, you know, traffic things from here to there. So let's get into it.
And that was also owned by Bugsy Siegel. Stories from the comedians who inhabited Crest Hill, the house above the Comedy Store. So that house was for sale. The Comedy Store was selling it. Mitzi was going to sell it. And but the problem is, if you go back to that photo, it's got like this tiny little bullshit yard. Like, that's the yard. And I have a dog. I had a dog back then too. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to leave my dog in this bullshit yard.
Are you ever place in LA?
Yard. Yeah, my dog needed a yard. And also, it's just too weird to be that close to the Comedy Store. There were so many stalkers and freaks, and have people just, you know, showing up at your house, and you're
just right on the boulevard, right?
Yeah. So
right
the Crest Hill's right off the boulevard, but it's right there. It's a 2-minute walk from Sunset.
I've heard like comedians like Bobby Lee in the past say that they've had issues there. Like, people won't even work with them just based on the fact that he's worked there for so long.
Really?
Obviously, I don't know like too much about that, but he's talked about that in other podcasts and stuff where
it's haunted.
Yeah, where he says it's very haunted and like people don't want to work with him.
This girl, you know, she avoids me. I've never met her before. I never talked shit behind her back. And a bunch of comics were saying, "Oh yeah, anyone that works at the Comedy Store, she won't even talk to." I go, "Why?" Because she believes that we're all like kind of like demons.
Because he works there.
Really?
It's like everybody like that works there.
That might be an excuse for why they don't want to work with Bobby. Bobby,
that could be it.
Bobby, it might be you. I've never heard anybody say that before. I can't work with you because you work at that haunted place.
They just don't want to be like around that. stuff.
Well, there are 100% are people that have stories, including multiple comedians, multiple managers of the place, waitresses at the place. There's a lot of people that had stories of like seeing weird things and meeting people that weren't there. Carl LeBeau, who recently passed away, Carl had the weirdest story. He got kicked out of his house. He got in a fight with his wife, and he got kicked out of his house. And he went to the Comedy Store and decided he was going to sleep on the stage in the main room. And he's like, man, you know, I'm gonna fucking make it. I'm sleeping on this stage. She's gonna kick me out of the house, but one day I'll fucking show you. And so like he's drunk and he lays down on the stage, and then he hears a door shut. And the Comedy Store main room is pitch black, right? So this is what it looks like. But that's only when the lights are on. So he's laying down and he hears a door shut, and he goes, "Hey, it's Carl. It's me, Carl. Who is that?" And then he doesn't hear shit. And then he hears chairs move, and he hears like clink, 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 clink. Oh, God. And he's sitting there, he's going, what the fuck is going on? And something grabs his ankle and pulls him off the stage and onto the floor. And then he hears chairs moving again, and bam, the door shuts and slams, and nothing else. There's no one in the room. He has no idea what the fuck happened, but he told that story on stage one night. It's like he set the tone, this like spooky lighting, and it was really cool.
Wait, so he got pulled by his ankle off of the stage,
Off the
multiple
stage.
feet away.
Yeah, something grabbed him. He didn't see anyone. But something grabbed his ankle and pulled him off the stage and onto the floor.
Well, at the Comedy Store, you know that place is haunted.
I haven't heard
and
that.
And I saw Gus a couple of times.
Was that a ghost that lived
there?
there?
There was a ghost named Gus. He was in the 50s, he was a mafia henchman that apparently was murdered at the Comedy Store. It was a club called Ciro's at the time. And I've seen Gus a couple of times.
God bless
him. And that's something that other people have seen there?
Oh, Gus levitated Sam Kinison by his ankle and above it. Because, you know, Sam Kinison and Carl LeBeau, when they moved from Houston to the Comedy Store, they used to sleep in the main room. And one night, and this is what I heard from Carl LeBeau, because obviously Sam Kinison is dead, that one night he woke up and that Sam Kinison was levitated by his ankle upside down. Yeah.
Huh?
I could tell, I mean, next, if I ever do this podcast again, I can tell you a million stories that happened there.
Really?
Yeah.
So
but we've been 2 hours deep.
When you saw the ghost, just out of curiosity, how did it
Me and my
appear
friend
before
Johnny
you?
When did a gig in Bakersfield. This is back in the 90s. And I parked my truck at the Comedy Store parking lot. At 4 in the morning, when Johnny dropped me back off at my car, we looked up, and there's a window on the top floor. We looked up, and we saw a faceless man wearing a top hat with his hands against the window looking at us. And then we looked at each other, screamed, we looked back up, he was gone.
Now, quite contrary to the female comic that actually does not approve of these cultish activities that Bobby Lee spoke of, which we will be getting to very soon, there was another female comic who was quite the opposite of that female comic and does participate in these type of rituals that Bobby Lee explains a few times. Let's check that out.
Oh no, the Comedy Store is great. Everybody, I was like, no, dude. Everybody's going to the Improv. Everybody's going to the Laugh Factory.
There's people hiding, sleeping in here and shit at night.
It's just a ghost town. It's dark. It's like you knew something happened here at one time. It's up on the walls. There's like one server.
When I got there, it was like a haunted house. Like a lot of the guys that lived there had died and were haunting it.
One night, they said, don't go to the belly room. I was working here. I snuck up behind the back. And I looked, that back door in the belly room. I looked, and there was like 12 people in a circle wearing hoods and robes.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not kidding you. Candles all over the place. And they're doing a seance. 2 people turned around, and I recognized them. I can't say it because they're pretty big, and I don't want to.
Come on.
It was Lily Tomlin and Bob Zamuda. They were doing a seance to communicate with Andy Kaufman.
So that really happened?
Yeah.
And then there was gang shit here for a long time. On Mondays. And everybody got scared away for years.
And in fact, the Beacon just dragged in the fucking dregs, people with problems.
They set some Crips next to some blood members.
Oh, man.
And then we had boys in the hood right here in the main room. I was on stage in the original room. The glass is right there. Y'all hear blah, 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 blah. Dove down on stage. I told the audience, this was lay down comedy. And kept doing the show till the fucking police got there.
I think it was Bugsy Siegel who owned Ciro's originally. So they would kill people there.
That's what I'm saying.
They would kill people there, and that's the result of it. People got tortured there.
Yeah.
They had a room down there where they would torture people plus.
And in the belly room, too, was an illegal abortion center. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. There was an illegal abortion center, and that's why they call it the belly room.
Jesus Christ.
And that's why, at times, people have said this, if you spend the night there, you can hear babies crying upstairs. But can I just tell you something about that belly room also? And it brings up something, the scariest thing I've ever seen up there. One night at 2 a.m, I was hanging out there, okay? And they go, you can hang out here, but upstairs they're doing something, but you cannot go up there in the belly room. I go, it's closed. Who gives a fuck? He's like, there's something going up there. Do not go up there. But I went up there. The back entrance, up the black. I opened up that back thing, right? It's pitch black in there, but I see candles, right? I swear to God, I saw this. 15 people wearing hoods and purple cloaks. Oh my God. Okay? And they're chanting. Right? And then, so I go back downstairs and I wait to see. They come down after the seance. You know who I saw? One of them was Lily Tomlin. Okay? The second one was Bob Zamuda. You know Bob Zamuda? And they were seancing Andy Kaufman's ghost.
Did it work?
I don't know. I didn't stay up there long enough to know. But what I'm saying is that there's something about that belly room that is a portal of something. Why are you laughing?
It's just crazy. It's a comedy club, and it's like a haunted house almost.
I still remember living in 3515, being a child, not a child, being a teenager, and staying in on Friday nights to watch Sanford and Son. And there used to be a show called Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I do kind of find it a little bit awkward and odd that Joey Diaz was sitting there like kind of in silence during that, and then kind of like switched the topic to something else instead of like elaborating. Because when you hear some shit like that, you're usually like, what? But it's almost like he had this code of silence there. He's looking at Bobby like, dude, why the fuck would you say that? But then again, he put it out on his podcast, so just to play devil's advocate and pun intended, because there's some devils involved in this documentary. To play devil's advocate, he put it out, wasn't hiding it. But then Showtime also put that out, so not sure if they're like really trying to hide this anymore. Because if you notice with society, they're actually trying to normalize, like, I wouldn't call it Satanism, but like wickedness and all this other type of shit, immorality or whatever. They're actually trying to demoralize the country. This is all entertainment. None of this is true. Everything here is not a fact. But yeah, man, other than all that, like the guy in this comment here says, I don't know if Joey Diaz is with that or not, but he did keep it kind of quiet. But now, if you made it this far in the documentary, we've already established that, there was some type of dark arts going on and dark energy going on at the Comedy Store. And all these celebrities said it out of their own mouth. So even with the skeptics are like, yeah, right. All right. They're lying. All right. The celebrities are just lying. They're just pulling our fucking strings. I get it. Okay. You win. Now, for the moment, a lot of people have actually come to this video for, people have been asking questions. Who is this female comic that Bobby Lee said, didn't trust anybody at the Comedy Store because they're all into some dark shit? Okay, and we know the skeptics are, it's bullshit. There's no such thing as the devil. All right, get the fuck out of here. This ain't for you. Turn the video off, asshole. So everybody who's open-minded, who actually goes outside of this, reality that these oppressors give you, okay? Let's check this out.
Comics with names didn't even want to come here. They thought it was a dark energy. The 80s boom had ended, and there was this unbelievably, toxic, negative vibe.
The night that I was here, I did not feel welcome, and I was surprised by that.
A lot of comics hated this place.
Business was bad.
And it's like the comics were running the club. Like nobody even knew who was really running the comedy store.
Like comedians like Bobby Lee in the past say that they've had issues there. Like people won't even work with them just based on the fact that he's worked there for so long.
Really?
Obviously, I don't know like too much about that, but he's talked about that in other podcasts and stuff where
it's haunted.
Yeah, where he says it's very haunted and like people don't want to work with him because he works there.
Really?
It's like everybody like that works
That
there.
might be an excuse for why they don't want to work with Bobby. Bobby,
that could be it.
Bobby, it might be you. I've never heard anybody say that before. I can't work with you because you work at that haunted place. That
Yeah. They just don't want to be like around that stuff.
There was this girl who she has an, I'm not gonna name her name, and I said, "You're very funny," and she goes like this. She goes, and she just walks away from me. A bunch of comics were saying, "Oh, they believes that we're all like kind of like demons, and that we're all like a part of this weird comedy cult, that we're dark, we have dark energy."
The best thing they could have is their friend who's a comedian next to them, just making them laugh.
Right.
And I was like, what? So it's taken me a long time to not decide that someone is rejecting me.
Sure.
And then be like, well, fine, I'll just, and which is my shit of just like trying to not get hurt. Not get hurt.
I mean, I did that my whole career starting out as a stand-up going to the comedy clubs.
Yeah.
That's why you never saw me there. I didn't hang out at the comedy store. I didn't hang out at the improv. I didn't hang out at any of the clubs because
you had a good childhood. We get it. Your parents loved you. We got it.
I would project onto everyone that they didn't like me because I blew up so fast.
Also, by the way, I'm not saying that's true, but that could that's also not always untrue.
Yeah.
Even though it's obviously jealousy, insecure people are dangerous, and we're a very insecure sort of group. And you also seem very self-contained. And this is also something I'd love to talk about because, you know, you're, you have a very like strong connection to your religion. And there's you don't come off like you need people's approval, and that's a little bit annoying to a comedian or to insecure people because we want to go, how can I like put my hooks in you? Like back then, I was really only in relationships with people that I could like rescue or fix because I like thought that was a thing, and I only could have self-esteem through being needed. And I didn't think anyone that was self-contained and had their internal needs met would want to be what
do they need from me then?
What do they? Well, how am I going to keep them?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get abandoned. So I need someone that's like gets addicted to my help, or that I stick my. It has to be codependent and entrenched, or else they can leave at any time.
Yeah.
And you were kind of like too healthy. There's no like in. But can you talk a little bit about like have you always had a strong relationship with Christianity, and did that help you through, like, what helped you get to a point to this?
I'm so grateful for my years of being super devoted Christian, committed to the plan that I had for myself. I'm grateful for those years, and I'll talk about that. And but also where I'm at now is definitely an evolved version of myself in my 20s who still loves God, who still says, in Jesus' name, amen.
Yeah.
But now also says, thank you, divine. Thank you, love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like I have gone through probably the past 5 years a deconstruction of my Christianity that I held on so tightly in my early 20s, for sure. And I think the fact that I held on to that probably saved me from a lot of complications and heartbreaks that I would have got myself into, bad decisions I would have made. And at the same time, because of that, I made some decisions that I feel like robbed me of certain things, like saying no to certain like movies that I thought was like, oh, as a Christian, I probably shouldn't do this because it had like one dick joke in it. And I was like, oh, that's probably, I shouldn't do that. And then the movie comes out and it's actually not that at all. And I just said no because I was trying to be super Christian.
Angela Johnson, who I feel may be the funniest female comic today, as of right now. You know, she's very spiritual and throughout her career was very religious, a Christian. Now she says that, you know, she's evolved spiritually and, you know, is a follower of Christ, but, you know, is more like out of the indoctrination of religion and is just more into the spiritual, you know, realms. And, you know, lately she's been doing a lot of podcasts with the big comedians from the Comedy Store and all that. Hopefully she isn't, you know, gradually coming into this oneness idea, which is a perverted spiritual belief that, you know, everybody is one, meaning that, you know, we are one, but meaning that righteousness has to exist with lawlessness because, you know, it's a perverted way of saying as above, so below, which they perverted to mean that, you know, the righteous can, you know, has to be with the lawless. They can't exist without each other. When really as above, so below means whatever is going on the inside will show on the outside. You know, a lot of people pervert that saying as if to say, you know, right and wrong have to exist together. And hopefully she isn't coming into that because, well, she's hanging out with a lot of these people who were growing up in the Comedy Store under a lot of wickedness and all that. So, you know, I congratulate her for her religion and spirituality, keeping her away from that type of stuff. You know, she's heavily religious, so I can completely see her being like, you know what, you guys are demonic, not coming around you. And I mean, Whitney Cummings is involved with a lot of, you know, can't really speak about it too much on here, but I did a video of her and David Spade where they're kind of like speaking in code to each other about this child trafficking bust or this stuff going on with the children in Hollywood, you know, and all this type of stuff. We know about the blood rituals that they do with the children and all this. Is all entertainment right here. None of this is fact. This is all entertainment. This is a horror documentary. It's all satire. I don't know what the fuck it is. But check this out real quick.
Because I was so addicted to adrenaline and dramas. Because I was so addicted to adrenaline and
Like every time Bert falls down, he sells out the Smoothie King Arena. Like I don't, he just goes into his hot tub and gets 2 million views. I can't go in a hot tub. It causes wrinkles and a lot of good babies died for this. And a lot of good babies died for this. And a lot of good babies died for this.
Whoa. Now that is what I call it's all entertainment. Now, my fellow skeptics would tell me that there is no such thing as some children serum that keep these Hollywood actresses looking young. They would tell me there is no such thing as, you know, in the movies that, you know, a lot of witches in movies, they, you know, they get blood of the innocent children and so they can look young and shit. Snow White did it. Hey, this is all entertainment. None of this is true. Nothing in this video is fact. Okay, Whitney Cummings is a liar. The only way I can suggest that her face stays so smooth is that she pulls her whole face back like this by her ponytail every morning. Nobody can tell me otherwise, okay? I don't care what she just said. She's a liar. You know, nowadays, people can tell you straight up what they do, and I won't believe it. Okay? It's how I rock.
I would project that onto people, but then also that would keep me from making relationships, like actual friends. And I remember I would like watch like you, and you'd be up at the club like all the time, and Eliza would be up at the club all the time, and I'd be like, oh, I wish I could just do that. And every time I had a set at the Improv or wherever, and it was like, okay, Wednesday, sure. I was thinking about it for like 3 days until I got there, and it was like diarrhea the whole time I was there. I'm like, okay, let me know when it's my turn.
That's really why people didn't talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, what's that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gas, just all the things. I was so nervous, I had so much anxiety, and I was like, oh my God, this is not worth it. And I remember telling my manager at the time, like, should I be forcing myself to go hang out at the clubs and like make relationships? And he was like, no, why? Like, they're wanting where you're at right now, so just go be where you're at right now. Yeah. And I was like,
but then the irony is you want to be one of them.
Yes. And I was like, yeah, but I like community though. Like, but I want like peers. I want to like be chummy with people. And then I remember watching the documentary, the Comedy Store documentary, and I remember feeling like so sad that I let my, oh God, I'm getting emotional. Sorry about that. God. That I let my anxiety win for all of those years. And I robbed myself of like making relationships with people, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is relationships, not like our careers and what are you doing, what are you booking, but it's like relationship. And I remember seeing that in the documentary, The Community, and people like bonding and things like that. And I was like, oh man, I robbed myself of that because I let my anxiety win for all those years.
I went the other way. Whereas, you know, when I'm the first person to say, I'm so grateful for all the people that hurt me. You made me stronger. All the people that hazed me, all the people that emotionally abused me, even down to physical abuse. I'm at the point where I'm like, I am invincible, and
Thank you.
You hurting me, because I know hurt people, and I know that if you hurt me, like something terrible happened to you, if you're sadistic like that, or you're mentally ill, or a sociopath, or something,
Sure.
like I can defend anyone that did damage to me now, as 39 years old. But at the time, it was a very dangerous place for me, and I forced myself to go, and I shouldn't have. Like, I think we both went extreme ways. I was like, I am going to fucking show you that I can take all this abuse. I can, and it was really unhealthy for me, because a comedy club, which no criticism, comedians have, I don't want to say all comedians are crazy or sick or whatever, but, you know, we obviously crave validation from drunk strangers and destroy our lives to chase that and self-harm and self-flagellate in a lot of ways. And that often comes out in a way that we don't always play well with others, and we hurt other people. And sometimes we think we're play fighting, but it's not. You know, some of us are masochists and sadistic, whatever it was, that group of people at that time and the type of people that were attracted to that hallway were really dangerous for me and gave me really bad data. It definitely stunted a lot of my growth and made me hold on to a lot of old stories that I needed to be debunking. I probably needed to be doing more what you were doing and hanging out with your friends who were getting married and seeing like what was possible. But it was, to me, because of growing up in an alcoholic home with so much, you know, pugnacious behavior, confrontational behavior, scandalous behavior. There were always fights breaking out. There was always like someone getting hurt, someone getting shot. I mean, it was like, I craved that, because that's what my evenings were like when I was a kid. That's my comfort zone, is like, it's midnight. Like,
it's too quiet. I don't feel good.
Yeah, because I was so addicted to adrenaline and drama. So had you felt comfortable there, your parents would have to hit your Venmo, you know. So the kind of people that felt comfortable there, not judging them, it's just we felt calm in crisis, chaos.
Calm in chaos, yeah.
Yeah. And the kind of people that would go there and go, don't feel comfortable. I'm like, stick to that instinct, you know, because I think that I thought that I had to endure a lot of emotional pain, discomfort, physical pain. I mean, I would stay till 2 a.m. just to prove that I wasn't a girl. Like, I can hang with the guys. Like, I'm sleeping 4 hours because I have to work other jobs to make money, you know, and it was masochistic on my part, because I was trying so hard to neuter myself and show guys that I could hang, or just be around guys and not ever date them. So everyone knew, like, I don't date comics. Like, I'm one of you. And, you know, and at the time, the way that the Comedy Store was set up was kind of toxic, which is that, you know, one of the managers, you had to show your loyalty to that place. And you had to have no life. So I didn't get to date. I didn't get to have girlfriends. I didn't get to have friends. I just was like going like, I'm not fucking going anywhere. And I'm going to, and that's how you like earn some respect, but it's a sick kind of like, it's like unnecessary, like Hell Week Navy SEAL shit, where it's just like, this is just like hazing, and, you know, but it also, you know, and I go, I rob myself of girlfriendships. I rob myself of like traveling, you know, so, like all that stuff. But I'm like, I feel like we're just getting good. So, because it's also so weird to hear someone else's side, because I just saw you as like so focused and so together and so like, I don't need to deal with that. I'm doing this. And we would talk about you, because we'd be like, does she just work out new stuff like on the road? Like, how does she do that?
That's funny. I've always wondered, like, I wonder what people think about me. But yeah, That's what I would do. I would just write my jokes on the road.
I don't have the bravery to do that.
I didn't want to go to
I have to go try it 50 times at a fucking sushi restaurant in Santa Monica at some open mic before I'll do it because I'm insecure. So we're always just going like, damn, she's secure. Like she likes herself. That's what we're all trying to be like.
Thank you.
You know? So it's
well,
just,
I feel a lot better about my choices.
Also,
Thank you.
yeah. Also, and the other thing is like, yes, I mean, having dealt with so much negativity from my own comedy community and having it really break my heart, you know, it's like comedians are professional complainers. Like if you weren't successful, they'd have a problem with you.
So now that you hear Whitney Cummings pretty much, you know, admitting that they were some chaotic, low vibrational, demonic sons of bitches at that comedy store. Okay, this is all satire. This is all, nothing here in this video should be taken serious. This is all entertainment. Okay, but now we're gonna show you where Angela Johnson and Bobby Lee actually ran into each other. Check it out.
They think I'm pressing all these crazy buttons. No, you can have a coat. Let me get on the seat with a large coat. Next.
Hi, I'll have a number 3 with no cheese, no tomato, and no lettuce.
Dang, anything else? I got a complicated order. Let me get number 3 with no cheese, no tomato.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, sir. You see me trying to put in my order? Don't interrupt. Rude. And no lettuce. That's it. What?
I changed my mind about the cheese.
Oh, now you want some cheese?
Yes.
Now you want some cheese? You see me put in the order, why you didn't say nothing in the first place?
I tried to, but...
No, sir, don't get loud with me, sir. Do not get loud with me. Oh, no. Security!
Not getting loud.
Security. This dude needs to go. He needs to go. Needs to go. Thank you.
Quick, please.
We have a good show tonight, you guys. We are finishing our Haunted Comedy Club series where we have interviewed the GMs of comedy clubs across the country that have experienced hauntings. And I'm going to tell you right now, every club is haunted. Every venue is haunted that you go to. So I wanted to bring people to Ghost Stories with Angela and share the haunting stories of these comedy clubs. But yeah, so I've gone through a whole journey. But during that time, starting out in stand-up, I was definitely super devoted, super into my prayer time, my devotional time, my staying connected with my community to make sure like I'm staying on top of things.
But this is mental health, whether it's whatever your religion, everyone's got their religion, whether it's even the people are like, I don't believe in God. I'm like, but you go to Barry's boot camp every single morning. You have a religion. You have a God. His name is Barry.
You have a ritual. You have
a
something.
ritual. It does the same thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because, you know, religion over time has been, you know, justified to do incorrigible things and start wars, but everyone's got their religion.
Sure.
You know?
Growing up and in my 20s, I definitely had the Christian route. This is how you pray. These are the words that you say when you go to church. There's tithe and offering, and then there's praise and worship, and then there's all the things. Like, this is how...
There's wine at church.
This is how you worship God.
Yeah.
Like, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And that was the only way to do it. And now I'm at a place where it kind of like what you're saying, like I'll wake up in the morning and I'll do like my yoga stretches, my energy medicine, and I'm doing all my tapping and like all the things, and I'm praying and
Slow
I'm
down.
just like, yes, God.
What's the tapping?
So like, like learning about energy.
Tap dancing?
Having learned about energy medicine.
Yeah.
And learning about just frequencies and all of those
I stand in the
things.
dirt and to get the grounding and the electricity.
Yeah.
You're talking to the right bitch.
Yes.
This is not,
But that's what I'm saying.
This
is
doesn't
I
sound
was
crazy
not-
enough to me yet.
I wasn't this girl though.
Yeah.
Like I was the girl that was like, oh, that's crazy. Like just talk to Jesus. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
But now I have such a connection with Mother Earth that
Yeah,
I do enjoy going out into
Jesus
my
was
backyard.
barefoot to get the electricity
Come
from
on.
He was grounding.
He was. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Okay, so while I do think it is a great thing to start learning about frequencies, vibrations, and nature and all this, God created all of this, so you have to master this type of stuff. I also do know that the witches, the warlocks, the demonic, evil people on the planet also practice this type of stuff because they're over here harvesting energy off the planet. This is what I call low vibrational energy vampires, which here, you know, they master all that type of stuff on this planet. Then they give you these religions that actually don't believe in any of that type of stuff, so you never gain your power. So you are actually an available energy source for them because you never raised your vibration above theirs, because, you know, us with a higher vibration actually destroys lower frequencies and vibrations. So any energy vampire that tries to get you, if you got a high vibration, they wouldn't be able to even mess with you. Okay? So it's in their best interest to keep our frequencies and vibrations low by the food, the poisons, the toxins, the drugs, the drinks that they put into society, which keeps your frequency low enough for them to harvest you. You dumbass. So yeah, salute to Angela Johnson, which I think she has pure intentions and all that. Salute to Whitney Cummings, though I'm not sure if you know, that face joke was real or not, because, you know, while Angela Johnson may be raising her frequency, you know, for the most high, we got other people out here that's raising their frequency with the blood of the innocent. So with all that being said, catch me on the next episode where we will explore, you know, the more foundational aspects of the Comedy Store, the owner's history, and people who bought the store, and Mitzi Shore, and, you know, that kind of company. So, and also remember, don't ever call me woke. Woke is an ideology that I do not identify with. It is an immoral ideology, in my opinion. And that is just, you know, a radical way of thinking that I don't like. And I know some people, you know, they confuse what I do with wokeness, and it's not. This has been a crazy adventure, and y'all catch me on the next one. I ain't woke, I'm up.
She was the owner. I mean, we knew the history of her. But also at the time, it's like, you know, you just think, there's no way she's going to like me or whatever. And I went up, and I don't know if I did good or not, but I got off stage, and she just walks right up to me. And she just goes, "Hi, I'm Mitzi." And I go, "Oh, hey." "Hi."
Hello.
And she goes, "You're a regular at all my clubs. Congratulations."
Whoa.
Wait, that's how...
You didn't even have to showcase
No,
her or
I did
anything.
5 minutes in front of her. And she made me a regular.
You must have done well then.
Everyone knows the science of life. And the things that, and alert, and the things that we, you know, talk about here. You know, the dream weaving, the connections, the spiritual laws between our souls, upper, lower case, you know, energy, dementia, marvelous reactions within each other, despite interactions without yourself.
Damn. Almost makes
All right,
sense. That
so,
almost makes sense.
And these are things that I believe. These are things that I'm going to put down in a book one day. But multitasking within each cell creates an upper hemisphere of life components that we in itself cannot understand, and yet they exist.
Wow.
All right. You never thought about it that way? No, but I'm telling you that that's the fact.
It's a new angle.
And that's a great. It's to be written in stone. It's written in stone. But the thing is that so you have to imagine this kind of mesmerizing entity, and she witnessed it.